Quiet. And they have to be quiet on there.
Acción, ¿qué tal?
Is it at speed? Action.
How you doing?
¿Cómo estás?
Good. How are you?
Bien.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Well, you stay right here.
Thank you.
Where did you get your ambition to work with whales?
When I was 6 years old, I first went to a SeaWorld park, saw the show, such a seductive environment because you have all the lights, you have the music, it's 5,000, 6,000 people cheering, and then you have these incredible animals that you see the trainers on the water with. So when I first saw that show at 6, I was like, that's it, that's what I want to be. Nothing else. I'm going to pursue that and find out everything I have to do to become a killer whale trainer for SeaWorld.
Oh, yeah. Cool. How do you feel the first time you were in the water with a whale?
It's interesting because you would think it would be like you would get out of the water and you would be so, I can't believe that's the first time I was ever in the water with the whales, but it's such a structured and organized process. Like I was promoted as fast as you could be promoted, and I got into the water at 4.5 years of experience. So I had already been working, with the animals for 4.5 years before I even got in the water for the first time. So, and there's all these, like I said, it's a progression. So there's all these things that you have to do beforehand before you get in the water. And building a relationship with that animal dry, working that animal in sessions, then in shows. So by the time that you get in the water, it seems such a natural progression to get there.
Yeah.
So you just feel like it's the perfect time, and it was time for it to happen, and now you're ready. It just feels very normal, which is I think because of how structured it is for so long.
So, the first time you have connection with the whale?
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, definitely. They're extremely intelligent. It's almost like an alien intelligence. It's like working with an alien. The things that they can problem solve and figure out, it's absolutely, it's mind-boggling. It's really, sometimes it's even scary to see them problem solve something and figure it out because they are so smart. So and because you can build that relationship with it, and I mean by it I mean the intelligence. It makes that reciprocal relationship so much more real and like true and valuable because you're working with this animal that can kill you. And as an apex predator in the ocean, nothing else can feed on these animals. They are the rulers in the ocean. And here you have built a relationship with this animal. So it's something that you cherish it, and it's very valuable.
Yeah, good. What was your favorite part about being with the wolves?
In the beginning of my career, you definitely were very fixated on, you wanted to do the shows, you wanted the validation of, 5,000, 6,000 people watching you do the show, and your family seeing you do the show, and seeing you do all the big stuff and the big behaviors, the hydros and the rockets where the whales are throwing you through the air and diving. In the beginnings, in the earlier years of your career, that's very important to you. And as your career progresses and you've done all that for so many years, then it's more about that you just want those quality sessions and those quality shows with the whales where you feel like, because you understand that these whales are in captivity and that they live a very sterile life, that your goal is like, can I achieve a session and a show where I really motivated these whales, and that I can say that the whale that I was working with was genuinely excited and had fun in the session, in the show that I had them with. So, and when you had that, it was a very rewarding feeling. Like, I got towards the end of my career where I didn't even care about the public. Like I would go and I would do shows, and I could care less that if there were 500 people in the stadium or 5,000 people. All I cared about was my whale.
It's really beautiful.
It was just about the animal.
What was the worst part about working at SeaWorld?
In the beginning, it was the injuries. Just the nature of a 180-pound man swimming with an 8,000-pound killer whale. I mean, we were always injured. We were always either sick or injured. We were never 100%. We always had either broken fingers or broken fingers or toes, or broken ribs, or our hamstrings were pulled, or we had sinus infections, or there was always something wrong with us. And but later in my career, the worst part for me was about what was happening to the whales. That we were taking, I say we, management, corporation, giving us the directives that this is what we had to do, but forcing us to take calves away from their mother. Forcing us to artificially inseminate, impregnate females when they were too young and they weren't ready. And creating killer whales that didn't even exist in the natural world because we were crossbreeding them, and because of the confinement, and then they started inbreeding, and all these things were unnatural. And so at the end of my career, when all these things are happening, and then whenever we would have an accident, like with a near fatality with one of us, with the whales, or something happened to one of the whales, then the lies to the public. So the PR department would issue this lie to the public, and then they would say then to us as trainers that we had to back up this lie to the public. So after a show, when they would come and they would ask questions, and they would say, well, what about this that happened? And then we were directed, we had to lie. And so, all of those things, you start to resent, and you start to get a better understanding of what's happening here with the corporate greed side, and that this isn't about when you were younger and you thought it was all about the animals and all about living this great life with the animals, and then you realize that this is a business, and this is a business about making money, even if it's to the detriment of the whales and to the detriment of you.
How can we students help animals like the wolves?
I get this question a lot, and a lot of people, they feel like they have to do something big or spend a lot of time on something big to make a difference. And we've already done so much damage to SeaWorld and parks like SeaWorld. They are barely hanging on for survival right now. And now, last year we passed legislation. We passed laws in California which stopped SeaWorld's breeding program and stopped them from separating mothers from their calves, and stopped artificial insemination and shipping genetic material and animals across state lines or to other countries. The most effective thing that you can do is simply don't go to a park. Don't go to any of these parks. And the people that you love and care about in your life that will listen to you, influence them to do the same. Tell them why it's important to you that they don't go to these parks. And that's what's happening. See if I had the stat in my brain. Okay, so since Blackfish came out in 2013, every single quarter, SeaWorld has lost more and more people and more money. So the money and the people that they lost in 2013, they lost more in 2014, and they lost more in 2015. So in 2016, wait, what year are we? 2017? In 2017, so the first half of this year, SeaWorld lost 353,000 customers. So just in the first 6 months of this year. And they lost, gosh, my numbers. They just lost $272.3 million for either the quarter or 6 months.
So really, SeaWorld is don't care the animals, only
That's
for money.
That's exactly
Only
right.
want money, huh?
That's exactly right. And I have so many examples to prove that and to back it up. A great example is in nature, in life, killer whales stay together forever.
Yeah.
SeaWorld regularly took calves away from their mother. I can tell you just off the top of my head, during my career, just my career, we took 19 calves away from their mother.
Yeah.
And we artificially impregnated females when they were only as young as 8 years old. To give you an idea, in the wild, that doesn't happen. They don't start to become sexually mature and have babies until 13 to 15 years old. So at 8 years old, this is a child. She's not even fully developed. And SeaWorld is forcing this pregnancy on her, which is dangerous to her. We've lost several whales during the birthing process where the mother has died. And here, this whale is 8 years old, and you're forcing her to endure an 18-month gestation, and she's so small, the chances for something to go wrong or for her to be killed or her calf to be killed go up exponentially.
Yeah, wow. How do you like being here talking to you?
How do you like being here talking to us?
Yeah.
This is I love it because as you know, I have all of us have different set of circumstances. You know, I would never say I'm in the same shoes as you or whatever. We all are in here for different reasons, for different things in our life. But you know, during my youth, I too was in a facility like this, and I've always wanted to go back because it made such a huge impact on me in my life, and I never forgot the people, the friends that I had when I was in. You know, I was 14, spent my 15th birthday while I was in detention. And I've never forgotten the people. I've never forgotten their faces or their names or their laughter or and it was an incredibly impactful time of my life.
Yeah, but you really like work for SeaWorld?
I mean, there was a time I liked to work for SeaWorld before I knew everything that was going on. You know, when I was a kid and I wanted to be a trainer, and all you see is the commercials, and you go to a show, you think everything is perfect.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a facade. You know, meaning it's fake. It's not what it projects out to the public. So you know, and then in the beginning years of my career, I was proud to be a killer whale trainer at SeaWorld, because it was something I had always wanted to be, and now I had achieved it. And you know, a lot of people after the show would say, you know, I want to be just like you. You know, I want to swim with killer whales one day. You have the coolest job in the world. And these were all things that were very validating. You know, made you feel good. But the longer my career went on, and I saw the effects of captivity on these animals, you realize that it just is not right. That from a morality and ethical standpoint, that these animals do not belong in captivity. They belong in their natural environment. They belong in the sea, and they belong with their family. We shouldn't be taking them from the sea, stealing them from their families, and then we shouldn't be breeding them in captivity and then taking their babies away from them, all for money and all for greed. You know, so it's when you come to that realization that no, you don't like your job anymore.
Go ahead with the last question.